Hello, I'm Benjamin Liu. I'm from Montrose High School. I'm a junior this year, and I went to the University of Houston's chemistry department. Okay, so the purpose for my research was to enhance silver usage in things like solar panels and optical equipment. What I did specifically was I studied the optical properties of silver films from 100 to 5 nanometers. I used UV spectroscopy and ellipsometry to do this. The first week was the cleaning process. It's a lot more thorough. Every piece of equipment I had needed to be deeply cleaned. And for the microslides, which is what I would put my silver films on, I soaked them in a mixture of 50-50 sulfuric and nitric acid, and then used a plasma cleaner here to deep clean the surfaces and make sure that the silver would actually adhere to the glass, and then store them in a clean environment. Week 2 is creating the films. I used the evaporator, which is a machine that creates a vacuum of 10 to the negative 5 torr. This, and then by heating up the electrode on which the silver is on, the silver will evaporate into the chamber, depositing evenly on all the surfaces in the bell jar. And then using the QCM, which is that funny little wire-looking thing up there, you can tell how much mass is being deposited onto the surface of your films. Week 3 is where the problem came in. The evaporator overloaded and one of the circuits blew. So my task, because I was using it when it broke, was to redesign the electrical side of the evaporator. So I got to completely redesign every component of it and rewire and make a circuit box and everything. And I made it I think it was 3 times more. You could run a higher amp through it. You can only run 10 amps through it the first time, and I bumped it up to 60 amps, which means you can burn higher melting point metals, and you can evaporate them in this chamber, which is very beneficial to what they're doing in that lab. Week 4 was the continuation of creating my films, and then starting with ellipsometry on them. Because it takes roughly 6 hours to make a film. So you show up, you start the film, put it in the evaporator, and then you get to work on the ellipsometry on the films you already have. And with the ellipsometer, I would just use it to calculate for the actual thickness of it instead of an estimated thickness, and also the refractive indexes of those films. Week 5 was spectroscopy. Spectroscopy works by diffracting a light source into many different wavelengths, and then by changing the prism, you can expose your film to one wavelength of a light at a time, and these were the results from that. This was testing for the absorbance rate of those silver films, and so that was the 100, the 50, and the 5, and you can see as silver is thicker, it will absorb more of that light, of the higher frequency light. These were the dorms. I was lucky to have really nice, clean, and safe dorms. There was like a, yeah, it was a 5-10 minute walk to the lab every day, which was awesome because that's just, who doesn't want to be that close? Advice for future interns: don't get completely absorbed in your work. I just tended to get really absorbed in that because I was loving what I was doing, but I didn't really go out much or do anything else, which kind of makes me feel like I was hearing other people's stories. I kind of would feel like I missed out a little bit on that part, on the social side, but just make sure, just reach out and be very forward with people. Special thanks to Dr. Stephen Baldelli. He was my mentor, the Pinhead Institute, and Sarah Holbrook.